There are ways to combat the chill, and today we're talking about my top hacks to stay warm when the temperature drops. Ever tried sleeping outside only to feel like a popsicle wrapped in a sleeping bag? Yeah, me too, and it's the actual worst. But you're not alone. It's super common for women to feel cold thanks to our physiology. Good news. That doesn't mean you have to skip out on camping trips forever or even shiver your way through every outdoor adventure for the rest of your life. Tip number one, get the right sleeping bag. Sure, it's easy to grab that same old sleeping bag that's collecting dust on a shelf in the garage or even right across the street and borrow one from your neighbor. But if you really want to invest in something that's going to keep you warm, a solid sleep setup designed for women should be near the top of your priority list. For a lot of brands, there's simply more insulation packed inside a woman's bag in order for it to reach the same temp rating as a men's bag. If both a man and a woman want to sleep comfortably at, say, 20 degrees, it's going to take more insulation to get the woman there. This does mean the bag will be slightly bulkier and probably heavier, but you'll sleep warmer. It's also likely that a women's specific bag has the insulation distributed differently, like in the toe box, because they know your tootsies will get chillier. Not all brands subscribe to this logic. This last spring of 2024, outdoor giant REI did away with their men and women specific sleeping bag, the Magma, which was their best selling bag. And in its place now, they have 9 offerings that are completely gender neutral. So you get one bag and you can get it in different sizes, ranging from short and tall and wide and thin and everything in between. The idea, of course, is to have offerings that make everyone feel comfortable, including non binary folks, so they don't feel like they're trapped inside bags with terms stemming from the gender binary. I haven't personally tried one of these bags yet, but I am really curious about it. So if you have, please drop a note in the comments because I would love to hear your thoughts about your experience. Hack number two. More is better when it comes to sleeping pads. For most winter camping, you're going to want a sleeping pad that has an R value of 5 or higher. And the higher the number, the warmer the sleeping pad's going to be. But for most folks like me, or maybe even you, who are just dabbling in winter camping, you don't want to have to go out and buy a whole new sleeping bag, spend a whole bunch more money on a sleeping pad for winter that you're only going to use a couple of times. If that sounds like you, here's the solution. Double up your sleeping pad. First, grab your usual sleeping pad that you use in the summer, even if it's a 3-season air pad. Then go get a second one, only this time you want it to be a closed cell foam pad. If you don't know what that is, you've probably seen one. They're very skinny, like maybe this thick, and they kind of fold like an accordion, and they have little lumpies on them. They're not that comfortable to sleep on their own, but they are super resistant to cold. When you get to your tent, you're going to lay down the closed cell foam pad first against the ground, and then you're going to put your air pad on top of that. Not only is this going to give you all the insulation and warmth that you need, but bonus, the air pad won't slip off the top of the foam pad. Tip number 3, take a Nalgene to bed. If you haven't heard of tip number 3, I'm seriously about to change your life. When you go on your next camping trip, bring along a Nalgene, one of those plastic water bottles that we've all had forever. And they're the kinds that if you throw them off a cliff, they will never, ever, ever break. Bring one of those, and just before bedtime, boil a bunch of water in your camp stove. Then you're going to take all that boiling water, pour it into your Nalgene, and screw the lid on tightly. Give it a look, and then screw the lid on even tighter. Trust me on this, you do not want that lid coming open in the middle of the night. Then you're going to take that Nalgene of boiling water and climb into your sleeping bag with it. Zip up your bag and then cozy up to the water bottle, maybe around your core, maybe around your toes. The bottom line is that you're going to cuddle up with that Nalgene like it's your favorite stuffed animal because it's going to radiate heat all night long, warming the airspace inside your bag. Truly, every time I do this myself, I often end up unzipping my sleeping bag in the middle of the night to dump heat in a hurry because I'm actually too hot. Tip number 4, never, ever, ever sleep in the clothes you hiked in. If you're like me, you probably sweat like a wildebeest while huffing and puffing up the trail on a backpacking trip, or even while walking around the campground while car camping. And all of that sweat is moisture, right? And it gets trapped in the fibers of the clothes that we're wearing. And actually, the cold air does it too. The chill lingers in the fabric of your clothing. When it's time for bedtime, you might not even realize it, but all that moisture is trapped in the fibers of your clothes, and it's now sitting against your skin. There's no way you're going to warm up beyond that. So make it easier on yourself and strip out of your hiking clothes before bedtime and change into a pair of dry base layers. And pro tip, do not forget your sports bra because that sucker probably has more sweat and moisture in it than any other piece of clothing you brought with you. Tip five, eat some junk food before bed. Tip five is simple but powerful. Eat some sugar and fat before you go to bed. We talked about our metabolism, which is basically our body's furnace, and it's churning at all hours of the day. But usually it has to churn even harder when it's digesting food, which can be a good thing because that churning kind of gives you a bit of internal heat. It's like stoking your inner furnace. But here's the best part: high fat foods will keep that furnace churning on a slow burn all night long. So basically, you have the green light before bed, pop a candy bar in your face, and go to town. That'll keep you warmer longer. But here's a pro tip: make sure it's a Snickers because they are objectively the best. Here we are now, moving on to my sixth hack: snag yourself a sleeping bag liner. Have you ever seen those Russian dolls where you open up the really big doll and there's a smaller doll inside, and then you open up the smaller doll and there's an even smaller doll inside? Sleeping bag liners are kind of like that, only decidedly less cute. A bag liner is basically a lightweight insert that you're going to stick inside your sleeping bag. So, yeah, it's basically a bag within a bag, but I swear it's a good idea. Depending on which bag liner you get, you can add anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees of warmth on top of your sleeping bag rating. So if you're going camping and you see that it's going to be 20 degrees as the overnight low, and you're worried that your 20-degree bag isn't going to be enough, go get yourself a bag liner. Voila! Now you're rocking a 0-degree bag. Tip number 7 may come with some fighting words, but I don't even care. Stop with the nakedness. I don't know where this myth started, but sleeping naked in your sleeping bag is not going to keep you warmer. I think the idea might have been that your body heat would warm up the air inside your sleeping bag and thus keep you warm. But in reality, your sleeping bag insulation is going to continually absorb that body heat. So your body's just going to have to work overtime to constantly reproduce it. So, yeah, that's the tip. Put some clothes on. And speaking of extra clothes, let's go into tip number 8. Put those extra clothes to good use. Women have notoriously cold feet, but even with all the extra insulation in the toe box of your sleeping bag, there's a good chance your footsies are going to be cold. To combat this, take all of that extra clothing that you have hanging out in your backpack or sitting around the floor of your tent, mash it into a big pile, and put it underneath your feet beneath your sleeping bag, providing an extra layer between you and the cold ground. All right, my friends, there you have it. My 8 favorite tips to help keep you warm while camping in even the chilliest of temperatures. A lot of these tips can be used in day to day life, and they've all helped me a ton, so I hope they do the same for you. Make sure you subscribe and like. And as always, have fun out there.